Good morning, everybody. It's great to have you here as part of the Innovate Ealing program. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through and I'm going to ask you to think. I'm going to ask you to consider because running a business, to my mind, is something which takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of thought. But if you do the thinking and you plan, it's likely to work much better. And personally, I have like a tagline and excuse me, goes something like this. If you plan for success and you follow the plan, the result should be predictable. So that's where I want to head today. I'm not going to bore you with the fact that I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, but I'll leave the slide up for a moment or two so that for those of you that are interested in why am I here, why is Charlie here as a business advisor, the answer is I'm here to help you. And I've been doing it for a lot of people for a lot of time, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And I hope that you will enjoy this morning's session too. So, Branduin, who is Branduin? What do we do? And again, it's the same as I do. So, Branduin have a number of programs which have all been carefully designed with SMEs in mind, and they are full of purpose. And you'll hear that word come up again today. They are there with purpose. So we want to help people increase their business that they do with other people. So there is a goal mapper and the Fit to Export program telling you how to map your goals or how to be in a position to export well and not fall into any pit holes. Sales Mapper, that's about, again, as the name suggests, how do you perform best at sales? Because I think for business owners, very often you're doing a lot of jobs, you're doing a lot of roles, and I don't really want to call you a jack of all trades, but you are doing a lot of things, and we want to help you be an expert in all of those. So Fit to Bid is about how do you respond to tenders? And I think that's a really, really good session or program to attend because I think responding to a bid is the toughest sales situation you can be in. So if you can win at responding to tenders, you can win anywhere. Top right, inclusivity. It's about women. It's about helping women. The playing field is becoming more level, but I think there's still further to go, and that's where Branduin helps. And also for business owners that would like to understand finance, then there's a Fit for Finance program as well. And Mauser, our boss, is very proud of this slide, and quite right too. And he also tells people this slide has taken approximately 20 years to put together. And he also jokes, it's not because we're rubbish at PowerPoint, but it's because good, solid relationships take time to build. We've been doing it for just over 20 years. We are very successful and we bring that experience to bear today. So, today, why are we here? What's the point? And that's something else I always think a lot about. If you're doing something, if I'm doing something, tend to ask why. Why are we doing it? And what do we want to get out of it? So today, I want to explain the journey for an SME for its, the hint is in the name, it's growth to exit. And the majority of SME business owners that I come across have not given a single thought to why they should think about exiting their business. But as you'll see as we go through today, there are good reasons for doing it. And actually, it's not that hard to do because if you make your business ready to exit, you don't have to sell it, you don't have to do anything. But if it is ready to exit, you've already become a scalable, valuable business. You've already understood what the different options are and which one you've chosen. You will have understood what the valuation drivers are and how to maximize them. Because again, you know what the common pitfalls are that will stop your business having a good value. So those common pitfalls actually reduce the value. And at the end of the hour session, you should be able to leave with a practical set of things that you can look at, think about, and do. So if we look at the average SME, what happens to an SME as it goes through its life cycle? And you start up, and that's, some would say, quite painful, quite difficult, and you get to a position where you are being successful. It's probably still really, really hard work. And so what the SME business needs to do is to kind of stop one person doing everything, but to stabilize, to build really strong foundations. And then when there is stability, you can grow on those foundations. And growth is kind of becoming a bit bigger, but scaling is being able to really multiply what you do if that's a choice you take. So we want to have a good, solid, scalable core early on so that we're not building like wobbliness into a business. We have solid foundations, and we take a look at what stops that or what tends to drag it backwards. And also look at how do you figure out where you are and looking at why is growth so difficult? Why does growth so often stall? And what can we do to reduce the way that happens? So for any scalable business person, what I'd like to reinforce today is whatever you do it with purpose. So for me, that means you know what you're doing and you know why you're doing it. Because again, I've spoken to business owners who have a nice, reasonable, successful business, and you kind of think, well, the business is bumbling along. They're doing what they did yesterday because it seemed to work okay yesterday. Why change anything? And I'd like to challenge that. I also want people to understand, where does the money come from? Where does your income come from? And again, a lot of business owners I come across say, well, it's my customers. Well, yes, yes, of course. But which customers? Do you have better customers who give you more money? Do you have better customers who keep coming back and buying from you again and again and again? Are all your customers one type? So that if something goes wonky in that particular marketplace, will that make the business struggle massively? Or can you sell into different areas? Because generally things are cyclical, and as one goes up, one goes down. And so the business can survive and prosper. Also, does the way the business work, is that understood by people because it's in their head and that's the way they've always done it? Or has someone thought about it? Is it best practice? Are they doing it the best way? And has that been documented? And we'll say why documentation is important a bit later on. And doing it with purpose is giving the business owner a chance to have a holiday. A lot of businesses, the business owner is still in entrepreneur stage. He's still at that very early stage in his head, and it can be driven by many things. I haven't got time to show anyone else. Or it might simply be, well, no one else can do it as well as I can. And business owners, no, I'm not going to pay that much for them to do it. Business owners will have a lot of reasons or excuses in their mind as to why they should be down in the detail rather than up at a strategic level running the business. And also now, there are an awful lot of tools out there that will give you information that you can use to your benefit. So they suck in data. Data is useful, but only if you understand it and can be turned into useful information. And so if you have data and you take advantage of it, it's going to be good for you. And also, some businesses have a very flat structure. There's the boss and there's the rest. Well, again, what I would like to see is a leadership team that probably comes from within the company that starts to take the load away from the owner and means that you're looking at a more corporate style structure so that the business can flourish. So, first exercise, I'd like you to have a think. And as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, number one is don't really want to talk about it. And number five is I've got this one cracked. So I'll bring the questions up. And the first question is, our revenue is predictable and repeatable. So would you agree, yes, absolutely is? Or would you say, you know, kind of comes in when it comes in? And my proof point to you is if you ask the question in the small print, if I said to you, can you show me your forecast for the next 6 to 12 months? What would you answer? So give yourself a score. And if you'd like to put it in the chat, if you're feeling bold, and if you can give me a couple of words answer for the, can you show me your forecast? I'd be interested to see how we fare. Second question. Our operations run smoothly without constant firefighting. Maybe it's not a question, maybe it's a statement. And so again, how many times a week do you or your team get involved in firefighting, fixing a problem that you weren't expecting? And you're running from pillar to post, you're constantly fixing things. That's at the one end of the scale. And at the five end of the scale, it's like, no, things really run pretty smoothly, and we're a happy bunch. Third question. We have clear KPIs, and if you don't know what they are, you probably haven't got them. And we track them weekly. So if you're going to answer a one to that, I need you to be able to name four. I'm not going to ask you what they are, but if you have them, you should be able to know what they are, and you should be able to recite them to me. And the last question for solid foundations is, can the business function without you for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks? And if the answer is yes, I have a 1 month holiday every year and it's fabulous, you can score yourself a one. And if you don't take a holiday because the business can't run without you, then you'd be sorry. If you do take a holiday, you're a five. If the business can't run without you, then you're at the opposite end of the scale. Now, financial foundation. I'm I'm astonished by how many accountants don't do a good job, because the business owner is there to run his business, and someone else should tell him what his numbers are, and much more importantly, should tell him what those numbers mean. Because if, for example, we sell something for £100 and we know it cost us £10 to bring it into the company, the maths isn't difficult. We can say, oh, we've made a profit of £90. That's great. Let's go down to the cafe, let's buy lunch, let's celebrate. We've made 90 quid. No, you haven't. The £90 is net profit. And so out of that money, you need to run your building, you need to pay your salaries, you need to pay your staff, you need to heat and light, maybe postage, packing, couriers, websites, whatever it is that your business needs to run has to come out of the profit from the sale. So when you've got the profit from the sale and you deduct all your costs from that money, that's your net profit. And so the net profit is really the best indicator of how is the company doing. Because people can sell lots, and I've seen it done. And I even had a customer or a client come to me and say, Charlie, I've got to sell more. I've got to sell more. I need more money. Okay. Can I just pick that apart for a minute? What are you selling? How much money are you making? Oh, that's it. I'm not making much money. On a thorough examination of his numbers, he was making a loss at what he was doing. So if he'd sold twice as much at the same price, he would have lost twice as much money. He had no clue because he could see he would buy in for whatever it was. Let's say it was £10, and let's say he did sell it for £90. He saw the 90 quid profit. So he thought, if I sell twice as much, I'm going to make two lots of £90. Yes. but his costs were such that they were using up all of that gross profit, and he had less than nothing left. So understand that. And that takes us to the second point, cash flow. Cash flow is looking at how much money comes into the company and how much money do I need to spend to keep the company going. And that spend is normally divided into two parts. It's what do you spend every day, even if you don't make a sale? So that's your salaries, your heat and light, anything like that that you have to spend because you exist. You might have memberships of societies. Um, you know, there are lots of things that businesses spend money on. You might pay Microsoft for subscriptions. There are things that you will pay for whether you make a sale or not. And then when you make a sale, usually there is what's called cost of sale. So for every widget I sell, I have to get raw materials to make the widget, and I probably have to spend time and effort, and I may have staff contributing to the widget before it goes out the door. So those two together make up your expenses. And so you need to know what those expenses are, because put simply, income minus expenses is what's left. What's left is your cash flow. If it's positive, that's good. By the way, how are you accounting for VAT? Is that a surprise at the end of every quarter? And you think, oh no, that man's come again? Or is it built into your cash flow? And do you say for every unit we sell, we put 20% aside into the VAT bill account? So cash flow is understanding about how the money comes and goes and you being knowledgeable about it and in control about it. But as I've said, most accountants don't give you a hand. They don't tell you because they don't give advice. They just do numbers. So when you understand what things cost you, you can have a look at them. You can decide, is it best practice? Am I doing things well? Can I reduce my costs? So you optimize your cost structure. And then if you think, well, do you know what? I could do more business if I had another machine, if I had another salesman, if I had another expense, I could do more business. But I need to borrow the money to pay for the expense to do more business. And that's a funding for growth. And if you know your numbers and you can show your numbers to a lender and say, this is what I'm doing. If I had another salesman, it would double that. Da, 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 da. Therefore, I can afford to pay you back because you understand your cash flow. The lender is very likely to say, certainly, sir, because they make money out of lending to you if they know you're going to pay it back and you can prove it. So if you understand your numbers, because normally someone else has told you what they mean, and you can evidence what your numbers are doing, you will sleep at night knowing that you have a good, profitable business and you can tell anyone who's interested. And by the way, the graph on here is a real graph. I'm working with somebody, and if I drag my mouse over here, I don't know if you can see it, but small print says they're doing in 2022 they were doing a bit over 3.5 million. They've taken that up to 5.3 million, and everybody would say, "Well done, you're doing fantastically." And their gross profit was about 3 million, rising to about 4.5. And they think this is fabulous. This is wow. And when I looked at numbers, I said, yeah, but what's happened? This is the money that you are left with. £500,000 on it. Why has it dropped? We need to look into this and make this number a bigger number. So, what do you think? If I ask you the big questions or make the statements in the big print, and you read the question in the bottom and the small print, how would you score yourselves? I'll give you a moment to get through that. So we think we've got a good solid base. We think we know what we're doing in terms of running our business. And we think we know what to look out for in the numbers. So let's have a think about marketing, market positioning, call it what you will. But I'd like to give you a little Charlie statement. You never sell anything. People choose to buy from you. And I'll let that sink in. You don't sell anything. People choose to buy from you. And if you take that as an idea, you might think differently and say, oh, blimey, okay. Well, in that case, I ought to figure out who my target audience is. Is my business one that can attract premium customers? Can I put extra value add in there that doesn't cost me much, but means I can put my prices up higher? Who is my target audience and why would they want to buy from me? Do you have things that actually they've always been there and you don't tell people about them? Do you have your own IP? Do you have favorable contracts with some really, really good suppliers that put you in a good position? And how's your brand? Is it a strong brand? Because if you have these things, you are intrinsically worth more as a business and you can charge more because people understand your value. And another thing that's often overlooked by business owners is the number of clients they have, the number of clients they've lost this week, quarter, year, and the number of customers they've gained. Because a lot of people are frantically doing their social media stuff and trying to find more customers, and we need more customers. Um, and nobody's actually telling them, by the way, did you realize these people have drifted away? They no longer seem to be ordering from you. With the big question, why is that? Have you stayed in touch? Do you know what they want? Have you any idea why they left you? So keeping customers and encouraging them to have a lifetime value is really, really good. And depending on the industry you're in, it's actually surprisingly easy to come up with touch mechanisms that make the customer feel you care about them. As we said before, in my view, buying something is a very human thing. I buy because I like the person. I buy because I trust them. I think they will give me the value I'm looking for. And if they ignore me, they treat me badly, they don't apologize, well, that's going to make it difficult for me to buy from them in the future. And I've said before, do you just do one thing? And are you happy with that? Are you in such a strong position that it will never go away? Think, think Blockbuster. Blockbuster knew that you people won't stop watching films. They will come in, they'll rent the video, and that will never change. Really? And did you know that Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix and said, nah, that'll never take off. That won't work. So think about what else is happening out in the marketplace. Can you diversify? Should you diversify? And what effect will it have on the business? How much will it cost you to do it? And what will the benefit be long term? And does it need funding? So how you're positioned in the marketplace as a company, who you talk to, your brand and your IP will affect valuations, as do quite a lot of other things. So another question, market positioning. There are statements there, and you kind of know how this works now. I'm asking you to think, do we have a clear niche and a strong brand, or should we improve it? Do we have target customers? Do we have a niche that we sell to? Do we target specific groups of people, or do we simply let people see us on social media, on the web? Maybe they'll come and chat with me at networking, whoever they are. Do you target any form of customer, or are you happy to let them drift to you? How does that work? And again, for some businesses, they are very transactional, and that's the nature of the beast. People come, they give you money, they say thank you very much, or not, and then they go. And if they liked it, they might choose to come back again, but there is no relationship really. Whereas at the other end of the scale, people build relationships. And again, there are lots of tools out there. You can do it via email, you can do it via social media, you can do it via LinkedIn. There are lots of ways that you can stay in touch. But I would also say don't overdo it. Um, Client of mine, I suggested to him that he finds out the birthday of the owner of the businesses that he's buying from, or the purchasing manager, or whatever. And just as importantly, he finds out the birthday of the husband or wife of that person. Because believe you me, if you get a phone call from somebody saying, "Oh, Miko, hello, happy birthday," you would be astonished and surprised. Wow, that fella remembered my birthday. Wow. And you probably strike up a conversation, and the chances are a sale might come out of it. And pardon me if there are any ladies on the call, but when I ring up business owners and say, "Hey, don't forget, it's your wife's birthday in a week." Oh, right. Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Wow, yes, I need to do something about that, don't I? It's probably a good idea. So it's the most peculiar things that can have a huge impact. And if you ring somebody up personally once a year, it's funny how they remember that. If you ring them up twice a year because they're married to someone else who has a birthday, they remember that. So keep your customers. Anyway, while I've been talking, I'm hoping you've done those scores. I want to move on now about preparation. And the context is preparation for exit. Why does it matter? What's the point? Well, if you don't prepare, someone said, if you fail to prepare, you are in fact preparing to fail. And exit planning can and should be used as a growth strategy because anyone who's buying a business will look for it to be good. And it's like customers buying from you, except this is a much bigger purchase. You are asking somebody, please, will you buy my business? Go back to first principles. You don't sell it to them, they choose to buy your business. So why? Because it's attractive. What does that mean? It means everything's in good shape. You can show them your numbers. You can show them a good track record. You can evidence how good your business is because you've been doing it for a while. And the funny thing is, when your business is exit ready, as I would call it, most owners say, wow, I wish I'd done this years ago. The business is running so well. It's making money. I've got lots of great customers. Like, wow. So if you are running your business to make it exit ready, that's great. And of course, you don't have to put it up for sale. And I use car analogies. If your car is cleaned and washed and polished, people say, oh, that's a nice smart car. You don't have to sell it just because you've washed and polished it or send it to the valet man. But it's a pleasure to drive. And other people look at it and say, hey, there's a good fella. You can tell from the way he runs his car. So exit planning is a good idea, and exit planning will take time because what happens so often is there is no time. It's too late. The exit has been triggered by an event, and they fall into what are known as the four Ds. Disruption, Kodak, Blockbuster, there's lots of them who didn't appreciate the disruption that was happening around them. Divorce. I think the current numbers are something awful, like 1 in 3 marriages will end in divorce. And for anybody who's ever been through it, I can tell you I've been through it. It's a torrid time. And lawyers get you to fight each other, and it's just dreadful. You can't focus on the business, and it just it's not good. It's not good. Um, Surprisingly often, there will be a death. And if it's one of the shareholders of the company, might not be you, but it might be another shareholder, that's normally a huge problem for the business. They may not have put key man insurance in place. They may not have had like a number two, a deputy, someone who would rise up as and when the time was ready. Um, so that can destroy a business and massively devalue it. And also, when companies are young and smaller, they're very often built by buddies, by friends. And it's all right, we'll do this. Yeah, yeah, we'll do this and we'll do this and we'll do that. And one of them might get distracted, but he or she might want a different shiny new toy. They might say, "Oh, I don't think the business is being run properly," and he or she is stopping it. And they get fed up, they get bored, they want out, or it just goes wrong because of insufficient communication, and it can again it can destroy a business, and people say, right, sell it, and when the sale is rushed, it won't work. It's like if you've ever tried to sell anything to get yourself a few quid, if you have to sell it in a hurry, it's bad news because the buyer controls the price, not you. So, what are buyers looking at? Well, they want it to look attractive and they want evidence. And there's no point you saying, yeah, 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 it makes a lot of money, except, you know, and it's no good saying, well, it's got a bit of a scratch, when the reality is that thing in the picture is what they're looking at. So they want evidence that you've got a good business. Also, um, this is what they want to see. They want to see something nice and shiny. It's probably got an MOT. It's probably got a service history. It just looks great, doesn't it? And you'd probably be a lot happier to buy that one than to buy that one. So make your business look attractive. Also, there's something called the 2 to 3 year runway rule. And that's a great long expression to say if things got tight, if things got difficult, is there enough money or nous or whatever within the business to keep it afloat for 2 to 3 years? Because if the answer to that is yes, then the new owner knows, even if it's a bit of a bumpy start, the business will continue. The business will come good again in a few years' time. And that's good. It'll survive without me putting any more money in. So, and the last point here is myths. There will be people out there, there are people out there who will tell you, hand on heart, looking you in the eye, oh yes, we can sell that for you, sir, madam. And what they actually mean is, we would like you to pay us to list your business for sale within our marketing suite. So, think Rightmove gets advertised and people may or may not seen it, and interest may or may not be generated. Some estate agents are good. They use Rightmove as a tool and they work hard. They contact people. They tell people, go look on Rightmove. But a lot of the people who sell businesses do two things. Number one, they say, oh, yes, and they inflate the value of your business. So you are looking in your mind's eye at this lovely, lovely big number. This will be great. I can sell it for lots and lots of money. When the reality is, no one no one would pay that money for your business. And the second thing they do is say, oh, yes, and by the way, we have a lot of upfront costs, so we will charge you X, normally a lumber with lots of noughts after it, and that'll get us going, and we'll keep it on our books for a year. And of course, by then it will have sold. Not, we will have helped you sell it, and by then it should have sold. So their business is actually running a website that has businesses for sale on it at inflated prices. And you give them money to be part of that marketing scheme. I'd suggest it's not the best way to do it. And other people will take a look at your business and say, yeah, I can probably sell that. And they're slightly more honest. But the problem is, if again using a car analogy, oh yes, I can sell that for you, sir. if your business actually isn't attractive and you've answered the questions honestly and you've got some low scores in there, it is very likely that no matter how hard a seller tries or a broker tries on your behalf to sell your business, the potential buyer will see the risks. He will see where the wobbly bits are in your business because they haven't been fixed because you didn't have enough time to do it. So that probably means if it's sold, it'll be sold for a very, very depressed price. So as you can tell, I certainly recommend thinking about these things early. And the other thing, while you're doing your early thinking, is having a look at it and say, well, who do I sell to? Why would I sell? What? I don't know anything. This is not something I'm familiar with. I've never sold a business before. I might know somebody who has, maybe there's always Bob down the pub. He's always got a good tale to tell of how somebody sold their business for gazillions of pounds. But the most common one is what's called a trade sale. And that means somebody wants to buy your business for a strategic reason. So either your competition to them and they want to shut you down and get your customer base. That's one reason. Another reason is you have what they want. And they would love to be able to sell what you're selling. So when you have a trade sale and the match is made in heaven, your things that you have can be sold to their probably larger customer base. So that's fantastic. And also, the things they have could probably be sold to your customers. So that would be a great sale and buy. Fits perfectly, highly profitable. People can see where it's going to go. And if your business is attractive, that trade sale would go through fairly quickly and fairly smoothly. In other circumstances, the boss has been running it for a long time. He's got a great team under him. And he says, do you know what, chaps? I'm thinking of retiring in, I don't know, a year's time, whatever it might be. And I am the sole shareholder of the company. So would you like to buy my shares? So when the shares transfer from the owner to senior management in the company, that's a management buyout. They have bought the shares. The owner is happy because he's got the appropriate amount of money for his shares, and kind of not much happens to the business. Sometimes the management will say, "Whoa, he's gone, she's gone. We'll change this and we'll change that, and it'll be so much better." And that may or may not work. But that's a management buyout. And the usual problem with management buyouts is raising funding, because if the senior management team are just that, they are senior employees, it's unlikely that they would have personal access to funding to pay for the shares. And once again, if the business is attractive, it can show good profits, it can show good customer retention, all the things we've talked about earlier, then you can find a lender and the lender will say, yeah, great, I can see how this is going to continue. I can see that with a younger management team in place, it's going to do well. I support you. I will lend you the money. And the variation on that is employee ownership, which is essentially the same thing, but there is a tax incentive so that when the shareholders sell their shares, they pay very little capital gains on it. So that tends to be something that needs to be done even more thoughtfully and tends to take even more preparation because the shareholders get paid from future profits of the company. So it is absolutely vital that someone has helped the current management team to think about it, plan ahead, plan succession, plan this, plan that, plan the other, so that they can guarantee the profits, so that they get paid. It's very, very tax efficient. And then there are variations on that where you might choose to sell some of your shares and stay on as some kind of non-exec director. Um, and some people just hand it down to the family and say, well, I'll stay on and I'll keep taking a salary, but I'm kind of not interested anymore. I want you guys as family to carry on. And that, again, it depends so much on the family, on the business, and on the willingness of the family. Um, And typically, and this is just, like so many things, it's the way it often happens, you will not go through three generations of the same family. So beware if you're going second to third generation. So exit options, it's just something you need to think about because depending on which one you are aiming for will depend on your route to getting exit ready. So how much are we going to sell it for? What can I reasonably expect to get for my business? And you can see there at the top in blue, there is so much untruth. I was trying to pick my word carefully there. Said on social media. People say, do this and it'll make your company a six-figure company. La 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 la. It might be true, but it's probably impossible for you to do. So if we want to be a little bit more realistic and we look at valuation methods, there are two factors which control valuations. Number one is your net profit. Do you remember earlier we said, how much money have you actually got left when you bought that thing for £10, you sold it for 100, so you initially had £90 of gross profit. How much of that is left as net profit when all your costs are done? Because if you have a good net profit, that's fantastic because you multiply it, funny enough, by a thing called a multiplier. So if you use easy numbers, if you have £1 million net profit and you have a multiplier of three, your business is deemed to be worth about £3 million. Other things will affect the multiplier, and the multiplier can and does move up and down. And a business that is well prepared and actually bucks the system because it can evidence all the things the buyer is looking for and can show it's a very small risk to buy that business, that will push the multiplier up. So by having a well-prepared business, they might say, well, in your industry, multipliers are 3 to 6, 3 to 7, whatever the multipliers are for your industry. So the difference between having a low multiplier of three or a higher multiplier of six is literally doubling the valuation of the business because you planned and because you did the things we spoke about today. You are able to grow, you are able to scale. The new guys can scale it. So, you know, it makes it very, very attractive. So what increases valuation? We've said be ready, plan for it, make your business attractive, understand how it works, have a good, solid leadership team in place so that you can walk away and say, thank you very much, it's all yours now. Enjoy it. And the buyer won't wonder, goodness me, what have I just done? They'll be happy. They'll be expecting good results and they will know why they can expect good results. On the other hand, if everything is a bit of a muddle and they ring up and they want to come and have a chat with you, and what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, you forget. You forget because it hasn't gone in your diary and you actually miss the appointment. Well, that's probably not a good start for someone who's thinking about buying your business. And when they come in and they say, so tell me about your business. And you tell them, oh, we make fabulous widgets. The question they want the answer is, tell me about your numbers. What's your turnover this year? How much profit did you make? What's your net profit? What are your costs? Why are you paying that much for stuff? And if you can just tell them and sit back in a perfectly relaxed manner, well, here you go. Here's the headline numbers. 5.3 million revenue, 4.7 gross profit, 2.2 net profit. These are our costs. They've reduced year on year by an average of 3%. Wow. If you can't say that, your valuation will be decreased because they have to look it up. They have to pour through your accounts. They have to figure it out. And so for them, the risk starts off high unless you can show them the risk is reduced. So anything that gives them a problem, everything that makes them think, not sure. How does a building look when they come to see you in your offices? Does it look cared for? Does it look old and dusty? Same if you operate machinery or plant or have vehicles. Do they look old and tired and in need of replacement? Is that the first thing they'll have to do? Spend a whole load of money replacing assets that have been neglected? And when we say it here in the comfort of a webinar, we kind of say, like, yeah, it's obvious. Like, yeah, that's obvious. But believe you me, my day job is to go around talking to business owners and helping them on their way to get exit ready. And I'm not so shocked and surprised. I'm just astonished at the level of unpreparedness and the level of neglect that is running through many businesses. So we could do a quick self-assessment, or we could say, where are you in terms of exit readiness? And again, if you're at the far end on the number five, you'd say, yep, we have the documentation and I know where it is and we follow it and I can show it to you. That would get you a perfect five. Um, but more often I find business owners are saying, well, we've written some of it down, or well, we don't really need to write it down because we know what we're doing. These people have been here for 5 years, 10 years. We don't need to write it down. And the answer is yes, you do. Your processes, especially the important ones, need to be documented because when they're documented, you can make sure they're at best practice. You can talk to the people who do the work. You can bring things up to best practice. And if you've been keeping an eye on things, you will have weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it might be, but you will have reports that say, whoa, we're on track. You will be forecasting things and you'll be comparing forecast to actual. How did we do? Well, we did as good as we said we would. Then we know what we're doing here. So you can evidence a track record. And also, someone has taken the time and trouble to look at your business and say, yep, we think because of this and this and this is a likely valuation. But again, remember, it is only worth what someone else will pay for it. But you can have a good guide. And if you have a good broker, the broker doesn't talk about pricing. The broker talks about how valuable your business is, and your broker invites the seller to make an offer. And he might say, well, they're looking at, and again, if he's a good broker, he'll add a little bit on to what you're really looking for so that negotiation space is there. And so if you know how you're going to exit, how are you going to sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? Why would they want to buy it? Why would the deal go through? Why would the deal be successful? And again, you're on the right-hand side, you're on number five. But again, don't worry because in my experience, most people haven't given this a thought. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're closer to the left than the right. So what happens on the day or on the run up to the day? Somebody said, yeah, I'm interested in buying your business. They will ask you to prove it. Whatever you have said, they will ask you to prove it. Show me, show me, show me. And that will run through. And if they don't say show me, they will bring their due diligence team in and say, right, we need to look at your accounts. We need to look at your processes. We need to do this. So they will be showing themselves and they'll put a tick in the box. Yeah, good, good, good. No, don't like that. Don't like that. So the more prepared you are and the better documented things are, if you could say, yeah, 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 go to this file, go to that location on the computer. Yeah, it's all in there. It's all in there. Wow. You will be in a very small minority because you're well prepared. And they've got no negotiation tools anymore. They can't say, well, I know you're looking for whatever the number might be, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. I know what you're looking for, but we see these issues, we see these risks. Not too happy about that. So you're asking for this, and we'll give you, this much less. They haven't got that negotiating space because you haven't given it to them. And they should operate with proper commercial confidence. So again, if people aren't asking for NDAs and if they're not doing that, you should be wary of them. As I said, there's a lot of cowboys out there. So this is a typical timeline. Oh, and it's gone slightly wonky there. So today is on the bottom left of the blue line, and you can see there's a whole great list of to-do lists, and it should say event, so the sale, where the 18 to 24 months button is, and that's how long it takes. If you put your mind to it and say, right, I am going to dispose of this business, I do want to do something else. If you have the luxury of saying, and I want to do it in 18 months' time, 2 years' time, you will be in a fabulous position and you will probably get the money that you want from it. So, what would I like you to take away from today? Well, know where you are, know where you're starting from. Where are you? And so identify the stage you're at, identify from the scores that you've done today where you might want to have some value boosting improvements and just pick on a small number, pick on the big ones that will work best. If your accountant doesn't talk to you, which by the way is normal, I would suggest finding an accountant that can. There's also a type of person called financial director, and there is something called a fractional director. And these are people who they will work for you 1 day a week, 1 day a month, whatever it might be, and they will look at your numbers and tell you what they mean. Because I can present you with a huge, great spreadsheet and go, there you go, that's your numbers. And 99.9% of business owners will just say, oh, thanks, and stick them somewhere and never look at them again because they are just undescribably bad. They are impenetrable. So find someone that can tell you what your numbers mean. And for those of you interested, there's some very good software out there which I run for businesses, and I'm able to do that explanation if you're interested. Number four, are you still doing everything? Should you still be doing everything? Doing the books is one of the most common things that I find business owners doing. And my suggestion is it's highly likely that if you find a competent accountant, you get two big wins out of it. Number one, they do the books quicker and more accurately than you will, and they save you lots of time. So the net cost to you is a benefit. Yes, you pay them, but the net cost is you win on the deal and your accounts are done properly and well, and there are very few questions at the end of the year. And secondly, if they're running half decent software, they will be able to do the explanation and tell you what you need to know. So I would really, as you can tell, I've got a thing about the numbers because very few owners know about them. And then start your exit file. You said what you want to do better. You understanding or you're thinking about who you're going to sell to, and you can start to build the process that says, yeah, this is going to go well. So essentially, the scores that you drew for yourselves today, you move them up and you get closer to being exit ready. So that's where the formal part of the presentation ends. Again, thank you for being part of the Innovate Ealing program. You can see that there is a business boost on the 12th of Feb. So that's another one which is on Park Royal. So that's another live webinar. And all the recordings are available for you to review and re-listen to on the Brandwin YouTube channel. So that's it. There's the registration link, which you won't you won't be able to click in. But if I copy, hang on a second, I'm just going to try and copy this for you so that I can put that in the chat and you can use it. Okay, thank you for your kind comments, by the way. I'm just looking for questions. Good morning, all. Right, so to answer the question, Peter, yes, the slides will be shared, but not in the traditional sense of I send you a slide deck, but they will be available as part of the registration. Another question. Good morning, Ruth Ann. Lovely to see you. I hope I've told you something you didn't know. Um, okay. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Indy. Thank you everyone else who said some kind words at the end. That's really lovely. So you should now be able to see the link that's on your screen. Should be able to see that in the chat. And I think this is almost two or three more slides to go. There is supplier ready program which is running in Ealing, the Fit to Bid one I mentioned very early on. I can certainly commend that to you because if you ever thought about or wondered about or failed at responding to tenders, this is a program that tells you how the tendering system works, how you can put yourself in the best possible position to win and be successful with tenders. Because public procurement is changing. They're having to be a lot more open and honest. Their world has become a lot more regulated, and that's good news for you as SMEs because it means the tender process is a lot more balanced and fair than it ever used to be. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's reminding us there is a meet the buyer session, and that's a really good session to attend because the name is on, it's what it says on the tin. You get to meet the buyers. So make sure that we've got your email so that we can stay in touch with you. But literally, we bring buyers in from NHS, from Heathrow, from trying to think of what's going to be there. There's normally a big builder there because and all these people that we invite are committed to using local SMEs. And as part of public procurement, they are legally obliged to look at using local SMEs. So if you have a 10-minute pitch ready to talk to the buyers and you can say, hello, I'm Charlie and I do this for you, and I'd like to have a further conversation, you will have a name, they will have a name, you will have a face, they will have a face, you will have a phone number, they will have a phone number. So these meet the buyer events are invaluable. So here's a list of people that we've helped. The pallet supplier is here. They've done really, really well. The commercial cleaning supplier came as a really quite small SME working for what's it called? FM companies, um, management companies who look after buildings, facilities management companies, and she can now boast that she has a royal warrant for her commercial cleaning. So there you go. So these are very successful, and it's things that we teach you how to do. So a great long list there, and we can talk through any of them with you. So I hope I'm finishing on time. Thank you very much. And if there are no further questions in the chat, boom, boom, boom. Uh, Barclay Homes. Okay, lovely. So it's just ticked up 11 o'clock. So I will say thank you very much indeed for coming. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your kind words, and they'll disappear. Thank you. Bye bye.